We'll bring the meeting of the Design Adjustment Committee to order. Before we get started, I have to read an introduction. The Design Adjustment Committee's purpose is to establish clear and measurable review criteria for the consideration of major deviations from the city's technical standards and specifications, building design, material standards, and subdivision standards. The committee does not consider housing type, cost of the proposed unit, occupants, building material, unit size, number of bedrooms, or the architectural design of the structures. These hearings are quasi-judicial evidentiary hearings. That means they're like court hearing, with the committee's decisions are constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. All variance requests require 4/5 vote of the committee to grant the variance. Appeals of the Design Adjustment Committee are to Superior Court. The parties in these cases are entitled to an impartial board. If a board member has a fixed opinion on the matter, a financial interest in the outcome, a close relationship with the affected person, or has had any ex parte communication about the matter, please disclose that information to determine if a recusal is necessary. City staff will introduce the proposed project to the committee, and Design Adjustment Committee members may ask questions. The applicant may present additional information about the project, and members may ask questions. If anyone wishes to provide evidence at today's hearing, witnesses must sign in at the clipboard in the back of the room and be sworn in. Because witnesses are to provide sworn testimony, please focus on the facts and standards, not personal preference or opinion. When a witness comes forward to give testimony, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak clearly. At this time, staff will administer the oath for all individuals who intend to provide witness testimony.
If I could have all staff, applicants, and members of the public, please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
The first item on the agenda is approval of the December minutes. Has everybody had a chance to review those minutes? And if so, any comments?
I have no comments. I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Second. Okay. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Minutes are approved. At this time, we're going to switch items. Vista Verde I believe, is going to request a continuance. So to keep things moving, we're going to have them go first.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? I'm Chauncey Archer with Brick and Mojo. Our project is Vista Verde at 5651 Greenville Loop Road. In our talks with planning, they've identified a few additional waivers that they feel like we'd need to obtain in order to have our project be a success, so we're respectfully asking for a 30-day continuance at this time.
Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
I will make a motion to continue the item to the February 19th agenda.
Second.
All in favor of the continuance, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Still Meadow Village, is there a staff presentation on that item?
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the committee. This is evidentiary hearing number 1, located at 4504 and 4632 Still Meadow Drive. The site includes 27.01 acres, is located within an existing MD10 residential district, and currently contains an existing multiple dwelling residential development. 4504 and 4632 Still Meadow Drive is currently accessed via driveways along Still Meadow Drive, which is a private drive that connects back to South College Road. The applicant proposes to exceed the maximum length allowed for 3 private driveways. The applicant is proposing to extend 2 private driveways from South College Road. The maximum distance of each driveway would be 770 feet and 1,080 feet, respectively. The applicant is also proposing to extend a private driveway from Honeydew Lane. The maximum distance would be 820 feet. The applicant requests relief from technical standards and specifications manual. The technical standards and specifications manual specifies minimum standards for a private driveway. If the private driveway accesses a through street, the total length shall not exceed 500 linear feet. Lengths are measured from the curb line of the intersecting through street to the bottom of the cul-de-sac bulb or end of roadway to the furthest most end of the parking lot or area which the private driveway serves. The applicant has provided justification for the request on attachment 3 of your package. This concludes staff's presentation. I'd like my case summary to be entered in the record. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and the applicant is here as well.
Thank you. Any questions for staff on this? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name's Cindy Wolf. I'm here with Jack Dunn, the manager of the Still Meadow Village apartment complex. As you can see, this is an apartment complex that has been around quite a while. It was annexed into the city back during the early 2000s. And as you can see by the GIS sort of road overlays, the front half of the community is on 3 cul-de-sacs, basically, as far as those parking lots are concerned. So, as Zach pointed out, our accesses into this are either from College Road or Honeydew Lane. Honeydew Lane is an NCDOT state-maintained road. It was part of the Lakes subdivision. Of course, College Road is an NCDOT major road. I think technically it shows up on the city maps on just our frontage as being city, but NCDOT maintained, simply because of the annexation, and the city limits are technically on the opposite side or the halfway point of College Road. What we're looking to do, and are in the process of the rezoning process, is to add 2 apartment buildings, the blue roofed areas. The adjacent parcels, which is Mandolin Place to the southeast and directly opposite the middle of the site, if you will, is another community, but those are all dead-end parking lots and on private roads in the county's jurisdiction. So part of our proposal is to, in fact, connect the 3 current cul-de-sacs by parking lot improvements that will service those new buildings. Then in addition, there would be an amenity building in the central area of the back section, which is also on an existing loop right now. So the exhibit for the waivers is what you see here. They are certainly in excess of the 500 feet, but we feel like what we're doing is, in fact, improving a current situation of dead-end parking lots that were well in excess of 500 feet anyway. I've shown the difference in the front of the site as far as the different travel patterns to get to those buildings. The back section of the site, same thing. Although the travel pattern is there, it is in excess of the 500 feet. The one comment that did come when we were at the Planning Commission last week had to do with Honeydew. Again, it's an NCDOT road. Obviously, interconnectivity is always a point of contention with adjacent neighborhoods. You can see that this road is, in fact, posted for the 25-mile neighborhoods traffic. We would not have any ability to put speed tables or anything on an NCDOT street. So I just wanted to point that out. So technically, Honeydew Lane is one way from Split Rail. I'm sorry, I had it. I apologize, I missed one of the exhibits that I had intended. But anyway, Honeydew goes out to Split Rail, which then has all kinds of multiple, up to Pine Hollow, over to Carolina Beach Road. So with that, we believe that these waivers, the 3, are certainly meeting the intent of the code, that the findings are that it provides multiple routes for emergency vehicles. It certainly does not increase congestion or compromise safety to the public or internally, and that the justification is that there are the presence of existing buildings and that the site layout of adjacent properties did not provide for any type of stub outs or other connections. I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Any questions for the applicant?
Cindy, if you could go back to the green and red line, yeah, right there. I appreciate the graphics, it definitely helps. I wanted to make sure of the distances that are listed. So on that first, the short 270 foot in the lower right corner of the page, are you adding 270 feet to 500 feet at that point?
Yes, so
For-
basically that would be the addition of those, the 500 plus the waiver.
For a grand total of 770.
That would be correct,
Okay.
yes.
So for the next one, the 1,080, you're adding 1,080.
Same thing as there is another way to get there, but that is in excess of the 1,080. So I've listed the furthest distance to each point
So
in
just-
excess of the 500. So that would be 1,580.
Okay. And then the third one is 420 from the existing 500, so that would be 920 total?
Yes.
Okay. I was just trying to follow the distances that were listed. I think there may be a typo in what was provided. I'm seeing an 820, a 1080, and a 770, so I just wanted to make sure.
I can certainly check those again.
And just for my own brain, it looks like that 1080 line, it looks like that green line might be shorter than the 270 line. I don't know if it's just a graphical representation, but anyway, it just looks a little
I'm not following you there.
scaled. The driveway coming from College Road straight into the development, that green line looks shorter than the
You're right,
S-shaped green
right.
line, so just a visual
I'll have to
representation.
check that.
Okay.
All of the added, I guess, drive aisles, all of that's two-way. It's intended to be
Yes,
24
all
feet
drive
wide,
aisles would be
two-way.
two-way, and now there are loops for every building except the four-story has a dead-end parking lot, but that is about 200 feet, and it is circular. So it meets the criteria generally of the fire services as far as an in and out.
Not sure, what is the reason for this change? Were those wetlands previously and now they're no longer designated wetlands? How are you able to do this when they weren't able to install those loop to drive aisles previously?
Well, I think part of it was, this was originally developed in the county. They had a special use permit in R15, which was 10.2 units an acre. So they only were allowed to have that many units at that point in time. What has happened since, well, then the back section was added in. Again, that, I believe, was the county. I don't remember if the back section was the county or the city, but that being said, it's zoned MD10. We have the ability certainly to go to MD17, which is what we're doing, and that's the purpose of the infill. But yes, initially they were isolated wetlands, which of course are handled differently as far as permitting these days.
Okay.
And just to make certain I understand, the two accesses to the public roadway currently exist today?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the honeydew is that access that I showed in the photograph.
And they're not gated, or are they gated?
It is not gated. It is a straightaway driveway. It's that T-head, basically, onto Honeydew, which goes over to Split Rail
Okay.
and out to either Pine Hollow or Carolina Beach Road.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? As before, we may call you up again. I appreciate it. But
Certainly.
thank you. That's all for now.
Thank you.
Before we get into the discussion about the waiver itself, we do have the public hearing. So at this time, I will open the public hearing. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? If so, step forward to the podium.
You'll have to excuse me, this is the first time I've done this. My name is Nicole Cozart. This is my wife, Catherine, and our son, Miles. We have the unfortunate address of 5211 Gatepost Lane, and we received a notification for the hearing. The 2 apartment buildings that Still Meadow Village would like to add, I don't know if you guys have already rezoned for those buildings to be built or not. We were not aware of that. Those buildings will be literally on the other side of our fence. I think it was 300 feet. That's why we were given notice about this planning meeting. My neighbors and I have some serious concerns about, while that open space back there is no longer technically marsh and wetlands, I think that, I don't know what environmental studies have been done, environmental impact study, but removing those bigger pieces of land and filling them with a significantly higher number of people, we are very worried it will contribute to flooding. Some of us along that, there are about 4 houses and then 4 this way. These buildings would be significantly higher. There isn't really a tree cover anymore. We're very worried about drainage and flooding in the event that a 3 or 4 story building is built literally on the other side of our backyard fence. I don't know exactly what our recourse here is and where we go from here. If there will be another hearing, I have spoken with some neighbors. A few of them would have loved to be here today, gave me some information to pass along. But do you guys have any questions or about like specific location or anything?
Just for my own clarity, is Gatepost Lane, is that cul-de-sac in the lower left? Is that where you're?
Yes, that is Gatepost Lane.
So this, we're going to be like right there.
If you can make sure you speak into the microphone so we can pick you up, we're recording it. Thank you, sorry.
Yeah. I'm not sure where it is on that graphic up there. I don't think that that has the expansion section to it. So I think that we are.
I think the pale rectangles on the screen are the buildings that they're proposing.
Okay.
And I see the cul-de-sac for Gatepost. So I'm just trying to figure out what is your backyard that you're describing that this building would overlook. I'm just trying to get that sense of.
I can't read that up there, so I'm not 100% sure.
Okay.
I guess this isn't really intended to be, it's just a public hearing. It's not
Correct.
intended to be a question and answer type thing, but I will say that the flood control components of this proposed project, will be reviewed as part of the technical review committee process. That has not happened yet. So, that's not necessary. It's a good point. It's a valid concern. And I would say that it would be addressed as part of the technical review committee process.
Okay. And are you able to tell me where we could find information on some of those things so that we are able to follow up?
Yeah, please follow up with us as staff. We'll get you a card after the meeting. And also, I will just add that this item is going to City Council for their first meeting in February on the 4th to be heard for rezoning, which is separate from this hearing.
Correct. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak? All right, seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Any discussion on this waiver? I would think that, I think it's just one waiver. If there's any reason that y'all want to sort of consider these separately, we can do that, but otherwise, I feel like it could be voted on in one, motion, since they're all sort of related.
Agree with that, yeah.
I will say that I do like the fact that these dead-end drives are now looped, two-way drives, and even the one that's the furthest away, the 1080, it terminates in a looped, a looped parking lot. So you're reducing the dead ends, and I'm assuming that, if those parking lots meet our city standards, which they generally will if they have to go to the technical review committee and they haven't requested any waivers, that those would all be accessible for emergency vehicles. I feel like this is a reasonable request. Anybody have any other thoughts, concerns? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to make the motion that we approve the waiver due to the improved circulation that's being proposed by the project and no reasonable means of, extension of a public street. That's my waiver.
I'll second.
Any other discussion on that motion? All in favor of approval of the waiver, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion is granted. All right. Is there no other business today? I guess we are adjourned. Thank you.